Okay, so I have to say this thing. This interview is being conducted for the Seen Not Heard project. The interviewer is Kate Jennifer. The interviewee is Tony Ward. The interview is taking place at Tony's shop, Top Colour, on Hessel Road on the 31st of Jan 2025. Okay, so Tony, we're going to start at the beginning, and some of these things we might have talked about before, but we're just going to start as we start, and we'll do what we can do, because we've talked about it but people won't have heard it. Okay, so could you tell me when and where were you born? Let's start at the beginning.
I was born in Muswell Hill Nursing Home in London on the 15th of September 1952, which is near Hornsey in London.
Really? And so you were born in the south in London. What brought you to Hull?
Basically, 2 years later, my parents had twin brothers. I've got twin brothers, and we lived above a radio shop on Western Park Road in Hornsey. And my parents couldn't afford to get a house in London area even then. And
what year was this?
1957, 56, 57. And they decided, because I was living with my grandparents at the time, he was a radiographer, my granddad. He had a radio shop, and it was too small, so we then moved up to Hull. And my grandma, my dad's grandma, she had a flat on Newtown Buildings on South Coast Lane, and she moved in with her daughter, which left my dad the flat to live in. So we lived there for about 3 or 4 years till 1958, 59, and then we moved to Greatfield Estate.
Council, through the council?
Always council, yeah. We had council houses up until about the 1980s, I think. Yeah, I think my parents bought their own council house eventually. Yeah.
And tell me something that you might remember from that time, or any of those times. Do you remember anything? You don't remember anything in London?
I do.
Do you?
I do. My first recorded memory was being down a 10-foot with a 3-foot high wall, catching wasps and throwing them in spiders' webs and watching the spiders come out and getting them. I was about this high, and I was catching them and throwing them in wasps. That was in Western Park Road in London when I was 3.
Wow.
And then I used to sit outside the shops and in a pram. I can remember sitting outside the shop in a pram. And next door to our shop, where we used to live in London, was a sweet shop called Brooker's. And Brooker's used to bring me sweets out all the time. So I sit in a pram outside all day. Which you couldn't do that today, could you? No. And then further down, there was 4 or 5 shops in a row. The last one was O'Reilly's, which was a general purpose store. And they had a nice tree in the garden, so we always go play in the tree and climb the trees in O'Reilly's garden, next to the little 10-foot where I caught the wasps.
Wow. And then you must have obviously then have memories of Hull.
Yeah, when we first came to Hull, we lived in Newtown Buildings, right opposite the prison. Right opposite the prison it was. And I used to ride my bike, and I can remember one day I was on my bike and all these prisoners was running past, and the warders was chasing them, and I was just sat on my bike watching them go past. And I thought, what was that? So it was the men running past. Oh, that was the prisoners. So, and then but then when I got to 5 years old, I used to walk all the way from Newtown Buildings to South Coast Lane School. It must have been about 2 miles by myself. 5 years old, and there's, like in the rain and snow and everything, but that was just the thing there. And that's where I was at South Coast Lane till we actually got this house on Greatfield. And then the first place we lived on Bradford Avenue, my first school was Stockwell Infant School. And I was at Stockwell Infant School because the Old Fleet Infant School, which I eventually went to, wasn't built then. So it was a temporary thing. I was there for probably a couple of years. Then when Old Fleet Infant School opened, I went there, and I was there till I was 11. did the 11 plus, scraped through. I think I went to the very basic school you got to, the crappy schools before I just passed. So I went to Newton Hall then, and I was there until 1969.
And then from there?
And from there, the first job was in the fruit market. I got off the bus, so we moved here. We moved on Cavill Place then, we moved from Greaterfield then. And I got off the bus, and you could get jobs easy anything. I got off the bus, walked down to the fruit market and said, I've got any jobs going. And I went to the second place and said, you can start on Monday if you want. So, and because I had allegedly a grammar school education, the chap came to my house that night while I lived with my mum and dad and said, oh, because he's done this does he fancy being a career as a salesman in the fruit market? So I said, well, give it a go. So I did that for a while, and then I moved on from there. I went to Hardick as the removal people. I used to be in the office, but I used to like get out with the lorries and things. We used to go up and down from Hull to London once a week. We had 3 runs down to London, middle, east and west. We used to go down to London and sleep in the lorries overnight in London, and we used to basically go to Gibson Bishops, which was like a distributor for Harrods, and we used to get all the stuff there, and we'd work out which way in which lorry and what we could deliver on the way back. We'd deliver on the way back to Hull. Then on Monday, when we went back on the Saturday, on the Monday we'd switch all the lorries around and put the loads in to go down to the central, the east and the western one down to London. We used to go down there, and I got fed up of it, to be fair, and it was just after Manland on the Moon. Now, when Manland on the Moon, I sat up there all night watching it with my mum, and I thought, Christ, I can't be doing this all my life, because I was up all night and I felt knackered the following day. And we used to have a careers office in Hull on Albion Street, and I went in there and I said, oh, have you got any jobs? I'm fed up with doing what I'm doing. They said, well, what was you good at school? And I said, well, I only got 1 O-level, which was technical drawing, and I used to like drawing and things like that. So they said, well, we've got a job here for a trainee photographer with Jimmy Marshall on Holderness Road. So I give it, and I've loved it ever since, to be fair. I've never ever got fed up of photography. Even today, I still think about it 24/7, to be fair. And if I see something on the TV, I think, oh, that's a good idea. I'll never ever get fed up of it doing it. And so I went and worked for Jimmy, which was a fantastic place to work. Was Jimmy's. That's how I wanted to recreate Jimmy's place, because we had Jimmy, apart from his photography, was the drummer at the Westfield Country Club, and it was the Milner Marshall duo, and we used to get all really big stars, to be fair. He used to come in the studios just for pictures and talks with everything. We had Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, the Peddlers, like you said, Buddy Rich, what you said. And a funny story that I can remember was when I used to have to go out for the dinners and things, because I was only the last one. Because Jimmy always used to treat us to a Chinese at lunchtime. And I came back with all the dinners, and there was such a row coming from upstairs. I remember saying to Christine, who was the guest, what the hell's that noise coming from upstairs? And she said, oh, it's Buddy Rich giving Jimmy a drumming lesson. What a row it was. So, and I stayed with Jimmy for about 18 months, 2 years. And after that...
What did he teach you? What were you doing with him in those 2 years? Because you went as an apprentice, did you?
Yeah, he taught me how to do black and white printing. Basically, I do all the black. It was all black and white then. And we used to all work for BP Chemicals, and it was basically a good how to develop things. It was all black and white. We didn't do all our colour printing went out. We didn't do any colour printing there. It was all black and white there. He taught me how to do black and white, and he taught me how to manage people. We managed people out there. Because working with Jimmy in the studio, it was great. I was helping him all the time. We had a lad who used to work for us called John Harrison, who was in Fairport Convention. He came and worked with me, and he used to fart. He used to have Guinness every day, and all the time in the studio, and you couldn't get out of it in the sort of dark room. Oh, sorry, Tony, I was Guinness like that. Oh, fucking hell, it stunk. And you couldn't get out because he was between me and the door. So, and I was with Jimmy for couple of years. I had a 3-month spell at Binns, which was a shop then, just just basically, because Jimmy's money was crap. You couldn't live on it. Our double wages by the going to bins or hammers as it was, basically controlling the stock. They had a warehouse and a shop, and it was my job to keep the salesmen informed of what stock they had to sell, so we didn't oversell. But I was there 2 or 3 months, and then I applied for a job with Butlins, and it was Butlins Skegness for the season, and I forget what I think it was a bloke called G came and interviewed me at my house while I was living on Cabell still, and he gave me the job, and I went down in May 1971, and basically worked the full season then. It was great. I loved that as well. It was a nice way to manage people. I was in the dark rooms then, and I came home, and to be fair, I fell in love with a girl there called Suzanne, who was a student at Retford, Eaton Hall in Retford. She was there, and I thought, crikey, how can I get near her hair? So what I did, I went to back to college, got some more O-levels and things. But what they did was they put me in. There was no places left for English language, so they put me in the married women's class. And I'll never forget, the person in charge of it was a bloke called Charles Altersky, and he's still alive now, the prat. And what he did, he wrote on the board, a woman that puts her teenage daughter on the pill is evaded moral responsibility. And there I was, sat with 30 married women. He said, perhaps you two, and he could start the debate off. I never got over that with him. I did, but I didn't tell you what I did. I didn't tell you what I did. But I got my O-level, and I got into Lincoln College of Art, because that was the nearest art college to Retford Hall there. But by that time we'd fallen out. So I did my foundation, which I loved the foundation. It was a fantastic year. I think now I think now they do the foundation afterwards or something. I can't work out how it works, but that was
Or
a fantastic.
They don't do it.
Don't they do it?
Not
It was
often.
absolutely fantastic. You could experience every aspect of art. There was textiles, there was pottery, there was photography, there was fine art, history of art, and it gave you a real good grounding to know which way it was going to go to. And when I finished that, I got off with another woman who lived back in Hull. So Madeline, they called her. So because I met her on the when I was doing the English O-level at college. She used to buy me sweets and things all the time, put them on the table. So then I had to come back to Hull because she was back in Hull, you see. But that fell apart after a while. She ran off with a driving instructor. So that fell to bit. So I came back to Hull to do exhibition design, which that was good. But it was not the same as Lincoln was, because Lincoln was a very informal college. When I came back to here, I remember the bloke in charge was Reg Landers, and I said, Reg, what can I do this for? I said, pardon? You don't call me Reg, it's Mr. Landers to you. So, and then I did it there. It was all right. I got the qualifications in exhibition design, and that stand me in good stead for doing set design for photography. You know, stuff that I do now. I can think of sets and things. And then when I left college, I was wayward for a few years, to be fair. I got into drugs and things on Hesler Road, drugs and drink and everything. Left home, had a flat. Tried to learn the guitar, which I'm still trying to learn to do.
How old were you at this point?
I'll be 23, 24, 25-ish. Yeah. And the person that came to play guitar was a kid called Andy Boulder. Andy Boulder was in a band called the Penetrators, and it was his brother Trevor that was in with Bowie, Spiders from Mars. And he's come and try and train me to play the guitar, but I couldn't play the guitar, and I'm still learning to these days. And I was a bit wandering for about 4 or 5 years, to be fair. I didn't know what to do, and my dad said, you need to do a proper, he said, if I was you, Tony, I'd get into shipping, because shipping's always been busy in Hull. So, and I went to the job centre He had a job, they had a course in shipping and transport at the local college, which was I think about 16-week course. And I went there and I did that, and then when I come out, there was a job in the paper as a sales rep for Benjamin Ackley. So it was a big shipping company. We used to look after the Arab ships, the American ships, the African ships, and for the next 2 years, I spent just travelling the country, selling space on ships. To be fair, which was a good job, well paid. Used to get a company car and everything, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I still did my photography at the weekends and evenings. I've always done my photography forever. And then after a couple of years, a job came up because Benjamin Ackley was a bit dodgy. I thought it was in a Shutstone, and I asked my boss, who was in Bradford, called Cliff Emery. I said, Cliff, what would you do? I said, if I was you two, I'd go, because this isn't going to be much longer. So I then got a job at Matt Transport, which was another transport company, just up the road here. And I was there for 2 years, and then I was walking my boxer dog, around Springbank West, and I looked in the window at all these photographs in a chemist shop called J.C. Prince, the chemist, and I thought, hey, it's got the same dog as me, and I used to go in and get stuff done. That's why I used to do all the nightclub photographs as well. I used to get it all processed at this J.C. Prince, the chemist, and sell them on to the people and send them out to it. Then Jeff had this photographic business at the back of his chemist shop, was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So he put an advertisement in the local paper for an assistant to join him in. So, and when I went for the interview, he said, I'm glad I put it in the paper so you would apply for it, 'cause I wanted you to work for it, but I didn't put it in there. So he said, so I went in there, and then we got together in 1981, this was, in the back of a chemist shop. And after about 4 or 5 months, we outgrew it, to be fair. We were the first people who would have this like same day processing. It was in bar 10, back at 5, and at 5 o'clock it was ridiculous. People queued out the door. So we went round looking for premises, and at the time there was a good Italian, probably the first Italian restaurant in Hull called Medio's. It was Annaby Common, and opposite Medio's there was a shop for sale, and it was Durrant Irons. It was on the market for £23,000 at the time. So we looked at it, and for some reason the chap that was working for the estate agent, he said, what I'll do if I was you, he said, I know Medio's put a bid in for it for 24. He said, but I can't get planning permission to make it into a car park. He said, if I was you, put a fair offer in for 20 and you'd get it. So that's what me and Jeff did. Medio couldn't get his planning permission, withdrew his offer, we got it for £20,000. And in 1982 we moved from the chemist shop to the shop at Annaby Common, and it went great guns. 3 years and years did that. We took over we started doing these sticky photographs in them for estate agents, packages and all other sorts of things, and the ones for the ladies of the night in London. They'd come up from London, we'd photograph them, do the sticky photographs with the numbers on it, and stick them on the phone boxes in London. And then we got our shop. We got another shop in the town centre. We had a town centre shop down Savile Street, and we used to bring all the stuff from Savile Street to Annaby Common and process it there and take it back at tea time and everything. And at the time, at the peak of it, we could do 1,000 films in a day. We could process and print 1,000 films in a day. We had massive machinery there, and we had the shop in town, the shop at Annaby, and then the sticker business got too big, so we had to rent a unit on Wincolm Lee to actually store all our chemicals and paper and everything. And then 1987, this place, the Hesler Road place, came up for sale, and it came up for sale because there was a post office down Division Road, further down the road, and Brian Levitt had this building here, and he was told by the post office that he had to open up, if that one was shut down, the chap retired in the Division Road one, and they told him he had to open up between the two Otherwise, he would lose his license to be a post office. So this place came up, and they had to be out quickly. So Jeff and I bought this for 20,000, mainly to store the paper and chemicals for the photographic business, for the sticker business, which we moved in here. And the lads that worked for me, Terry and Colin, one day they were in here and they thought, actually, we open the windows and see what happens. Open the doors and windows. So they opened the doors, everybody started coming in. So then we thought, right, we'll get some other machinery to do proper photographic printing like the Allenby Common Shop's done. And it's gone on from there. Terry, who's worked for us, went on to be a minor, like, TV star. Terry used to work in lots of the soaps and things, Coronation Street and Emmerdale, that sort of thing. Colin now works for the police force, and he's head of the forensics department, taking all the photographs there from his education here. All my staff do keep in touch with me, or even to this day. And at one stage we had 30 people working for me. Yeah. And
so were people coming in at that point to have their photographs taken, or were they just bringing in films for processing?
Both. Well, we've always done both. From day one, we've always done both. I've done the theatrical ones forever, which is where I got from Jimmy, because at the time then it was all black and white then.
It's all right, don't worry.
Graham, I'll ring you back. How was your eyes? Oh. Right, well, I'll ring you back later, Graham. Oh, thank God, yeah. Alright then, Graham, bye. Graham's nuts. He's been for his injections.
He was in earlier.
Yeah. They said it's worse. He was supposed to make a date with a woman, and he didn't make a date with her. And she got him back with her eyes today, she reckoned. But he met another woman. He meets his woman online all the time. This Graham. He's
it's one of the characters that I mean, I asked the question about people coming in for their photos and their processing, but actually, what's amazing about this shop is people that just come in.
Yeah, they do.
Don't they? They've just. I don't know, and I always wonder: are they your friends from life, or are they just people that you've met through having a shop?
Both. I mean, one of the guys who worked with me used to call them Tony's cronies. They used to come in all the time. Another one of Tony's cronies. And people come in, I'd say 25% don't bring somebody in. Just come in for a chat. I was just passing through. I want to make sure you're going all right, and come in. I had some people this morning come in and put a sign on my wall there for me, just for their sheds and things. And I said, no, come in and do that sort of thing. I forgot what stage we're at now.
I was saying, do people come for processing and portraits? And you said both.
Yeah. We do quite a commercial work for the big companies still. Yeah. That book we did, that book you've got, we did all that book, that was good.
So you were taking portraits of the ladies of the Night of London, but also all sorts of people were having portraits done.
Yeah. And then one day, I remember Allenby Common about, it's been 1992, 1993-ish. I was watching all the cars going past, and I thought, they're all going to town to get Christmas presents for kids and things for Christmas. So then I hit upon the idea of doing calendars of women for the husbands for Christmas, and that went ballistic. There was like 10 and 12 people a day coming through getting this thing done in that black studio upstairs. It made the Wogan show. It made that BBC Radio 2 show I did. We did Sky TV come down and interview me. I was offered to go to one in Birmingham, but I was too busy. I couldn't go there. So thousands and thousands came through. Had these things done for husbands at Christmas. I don't think you do that today, do you? Wouldn't work today.
It's different today.
Yeah, different. Yeah.
I mean, that's what's interesting is that the shift. If you think what has changed, I guess, from when you started.
Yeah.
Like if you think of Jimmy's Marshall shop.
Yeah.
to what you do now, what has changed in that time?
Well, all the processes have changed. A lot of the people that we used to do then, the stuff we used to do then, you can do yourself at home now. Because that calendar idea, you can do it yourself online, can't you? You know, portraits are still busy. You still do the portrait. And that front projection system is a bit of a wall-off, isn't it? Because people can't do that or something. Yeah. Which was what I got after the miners' strike. I experimented a bit with doing two negatives joined together with the background. That was easy. And I saw this front projection system, and there's a chap that bought it during the miners' strike, and he lasted for about 4 or 5 years afterwards. From Driglington, which is near Sheffield, Rotherham way, and it was in the paper for sale. I went down there one evening and bought it, and I had to do a lot of setup with the studios and things to get it properly, because if you don't do it properly, the background's wishy-washy. You have to make sure that you see all the light from the backgrounds and light from one direction. But you know, that's like 35 years later now, and it's still going strong. So I've now adapted it to do it digitally, and people come in and they're quite amazed when they see the result. Even now it's quite old-fashioned, to be fair, but they still come in and have it done. Anyway, back to the shop. In, I think it was 2002, Jeff, my original business partner, Jeff, was a lot older than I am, and he wanted to retire. And Jeff's quite a wealthy man. He's got lots of other irons in the fire. He wanted to retire to set up a horse ranch in Graftington, North Yorkshire Moors. That's where he lives now. I did his daughter's wedding photographs about 5 or 6 years ago up there, and they had teepees in the garden for the wedding reception. But Jeff wanted, he said, I couldn't, to be fair, I couldn't afford to buy him out. So what I said to Jeff, what we'll do, Jeff, we'll split the company into two. I said, I'll have this one here, which is the Hasbro one, you have the Allenby Common one, and we got some money in the bank. We just did a bit of during COVID, and we had this and more money than him and everything. So, and then about 10 or 12 years later, Jeff decided to sell his Allenby Common branch to somebody else, or let it to somebody else, and the poor kid couldn't make it pay. So eventually, I think it went into liquidation or receivership by 8 or 9 years ago, and it's now I think it became a shop that did mobility scooters and things. And the poor chap that did that passed away, and it's a bathroom shop now. So I've just got this one now. But to be fair, I enjoy it more now than ever, because you having 30 people working for it's a headache. They don't turn in, they can't turn in, there's some problem. But that's one thing. It wasn't as bad then as it will be nowadays with having staff and everything. You know, there's no minimum wage then, and yeah, so
rules and regs.
Yeah, you've got me up to now. Got me up to date.
And so, this project, we're kind of interested in thinking about the working class social spaces and the people that frequent them and the acts and all of those things. And so, I know you also, as well as being in a photograph shop, you have also been involved in those spaces as a punter and as a person that photographs, haven't you?
Yeah, I used to go to all the pubs and clubs and photograph in the pubs and clubs and things. And for a while I did sponsor there used to be a talent competition called the Talent Trail in Hull. And that used to run for weeks and weeks and weeks. And what they used to do, they used to have heats in probably a dozen pubs around the area, where they used to go and amateur artists used to go and do they get voted through and everything. They used to end up with a grand final in the City Hall, usually about May, June time. And I always sponsored it in the tune of doing a photo shoot for them, and doing a sort of leaflets and flyers and things for the person that won it. But what I used to do, because the City Hall was a good venue for photography then, I used to make sure I used to photograph it as it happened, and very often I used to make the photos from the live showing. I did a band there called Dirty Wish. They won it one year, and I used to photograph every band, and one that won it I used to do things, and and that was great because you had all the lights and the proper stage sets there. So we used to often use the pictures I'd done there for the posters and things like that. But The individual ones, you couldn't really do that. They used to come here and get them done. So I did that for about 10 to 12 years. And then COVID came, so people didn't do it anymore. People basically lost interest in it, to be fair, and it did die a death. The chap that did it, called Dickie Norman's his wife, I forget what they call him now, I've got his first name, they used to organise it each year, and they, I suppose, lost a bit of interest really, and it was sort of hard getting sponsorship for things and everything, but when it was amazing, the final. The Huddersfield Mail used to sponsor it as well, so yeah.
So you've always been interested in photographing celebrities or nightlife, because you said before when you saw the advert in the shop you were taking in images of nightclubs. Was that that hobby photographs, or?
Well, it was both ways. It was a good way of making some money, but I loved doing it anyway. So
what were you doing? Tell me what it was.
What I would do, I would go around, those people that have cameras and things those days, and I used to have what was called a walkie book. You buy these from Kimber's in Brighton, whether you can look at them or not, I don't know. Basically a book with a little receipt on it. And he used to take the first picture, I'd go on, do you want the picture taken? Yeah. So then he'd say, right, put the address on the ticket, because postage was cheap then as well. But that's put a lot of businesses out of business, is the postal charges really. He used to write down, you know, that little thing, J in a spot, and a L in a spot, and he'd put like 3 ladies, 1 gent, so many copies to so and so, so and so. I used to do the Rayners pub on a night time. Then Rayners pub used to close, when pubs used to shut early, I used to go from Rayners to Romeo and Juliet's in town, and then across to Odyssey after that, which was which was above the old Hofbrau house, and I used to do the Hofbrau house pictures sometimes early before Rayners on a Friday and Saturday. I used to do Hofbrau house, take the photographs of all the people in there, and just post them on afterwards. Take my films into Jeff, and I just write on there 1 copy, 2 copies, so then you bring them back and post them all off to the people. I used to basically work a full-time job. I used to work probably 2 or 3 nights a week till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
And people were out having good times, I guess.
Yeah. Do disco dancing competitions, lots of hen nights and stag nights in Hofbrau, where they used to dress them up as ballerinas and stuff like that. They used to have to dance around. We'd have got the pictures on there for. A lot of the sailors used to come in. That's the first face they used to make. It was a massive place, and they used to have queues around the corner. You know, it was unbelievable. I reckon on a good Friday or a Saturday, there'd be over 1,000 people in there.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. They had all these tables with would stand, you jumps on the tables with his stand things and drink them. Because there was one in Lincoln, wasn't there?
I don't remember it.
There was one in Lincoln as well, yeah.
And then, so I guess we're interested in Hessel Road, Anlaby Road, this kind of part of town. So can you tell us what do you remember from Hessel Road in terms of the pubs and the clubs, you know, when you were going out taking photographs? What do you remember seeing, or who do you remember meeting? Is there any particular characters?
Quite a few characters. I remember going to Rayners once, and Tommy Rowe was in there. I think Tommy Rowe's still with us. I don't know if he's still with us. And I saw him at the bar. He had this lovely pair of dealer boots on. And I said, "Oh, Tommy, I like your boots." Are you fucking taking the piss or what? I said, "No, I like them, Tommy." He said, "Well, you have that?" I said, "I like them." He said, "Right, meet me here tomorrow night and I'll have a pair for you." He's working at Rosen's shoe factory. So I went into Rayners the following night. There it was with his brand new pair of dealer boots, which I had for donkey's years after that. And there was, I can't think, well, Nocky Windus was in there, Joe Windus was in there, all the Windus lads was in there. There was John O'Forey. But they've become friends. I dealt with them doing the pictures, and now they're coming here because I've got all their pictures on there. They come and ask me, "Have you got a picture of my granny there?" So, "Oh, that's my granny, can I have one of that?" Yeah, Tony. And it was good. It was good. Better times. There was fights and things then, but there was no knives ever. Never any knives ever. And I can remember once going to a pub in Hornsey with all my mates. One of my mates was, it wasn't 100% there want this person, and the locals was taking the piss out of him. So we had a big massive fight and a brawl in there. I can remember getting knocked on the head and falling down and falling on the chair and breaking the chair. But after it, we gave them all lifts home in our cars. You know, we didn't like fight anymore. We'd sorted ourselves out, give them a lift home in the car, and that was it. You know, there was never knifing, a fight. Very many a fight we used to have, but you know, we just got over it. Yeah.
And so, did you see other people fighting?
Yeah, there's always fighting. Everyone's fighting. I remember once I was coming home I was in Allenby Road there, and there was this bloke praying his wife up or girlfriend up in the doorway, and I remember the doorway because it had a mirror in the doorway, so I jumped in to try and stop him, and they both started beating me up. I could never see myself in the mirror. I thought, Christ, I've got to get out of here. Yeah, that was near New York Hotel on Allenby Road there. Yeah. Yeah, it was a funny thing. We used to go to Beer Keller then, all the time, Beer Keller. What was different to Hofbrau with Beer Keller was different, yeah. So.
And so, when you were out taking photographs, and obviously these people you now knew through taking photographs were out socialising, you were getting to know them socially.
I think the photography made me get to know them, because you have to speak, you have to engage with people all the time, and that's where my experience working at Butlins Holiday Camp used to step in, because you would think about it, it was commission only, you didn't get a wage or anything, if you didn't take pictures you had no wage at the end of the week, so you had to engage with people to get them to take the pictures. Good week was you had Glasgow Fortnight, when all the Scots coming down from Scotland onto the Farley, but I've been at the Farley Buttons in '76 as well. You have all these people, like, how can you get all them? Well, I used to just sit back and watch, and if you really watch, one would be a ringleader, and you're going to get the ringleader and say, look, do you fancy a picture taken? And say, yeah, what? I say, look, get all your mates together, and I'll do them all, a big group picture, and you can have yours for nothing. Oh, great, mate, go on. Then they'd do your job for you, basically. They'll get all these people together, and sometimes you get groups of 30 or 40 people. You get 30 or 40 people having their picture taken. I can remember in 1976 I actually came on with £7,000 from doing that for the season, but you've got to work at it. You know, me and there's a kid there called Alan Gray, we used to have competition stuff. Right, see who can get the most tonight. We used to say, what have we done tonight? We used to meet in the cafe behind the night, see what we've done. So yeah, it was if you're prepared to work, then you could make money. But nowadays you won't be able to do it, because people have got their own phones, they've got their own everything's on the phone. So it has changed, but then it was great. You know, 70s, 80s, and 90s was you could make money with photography. You still can now, but it's not more deliberate. I mean, if I was to be 23, 24 now, I don't think I'd go down this route. I don't think that route exists anymore for somebody in this position, because now we do a lot more framing and enlargements and things like that, but the 1,000 films a day stuff's gone, and yeah, it's the things changed completely what it was then, and I'm lucky really, because we made enough money when it was good to buy the premises and things like that. If you had to set up now to pay rent, or buy somewhere, or buy the equipment and everything, you just couldn't afford to do it. You know, the sums don't stack up. So yeah, I couldn't. I could still do it. What I'd probably do. Well, I'm 72 now, so I'm probably working. But what I would have probably done was have a job during the daytime and go around the pubs and clubs. But I don't think the pubs and clubs thing. You don't see people going to pubs and taking photographs now, do you? Yeah, half the time I think you're probably a pervert or something, wouldn't they, if you did that? You know, so you don't. That's another thing you got to be careful with. George come across that with you know, if you photograph parks and things and somebody's in it, that's what you doing. What you doing there? That's my kids on that picture there. So, you know, so yeah.
So you got to. So do you think, because I know you did the commercial photography and for bands and acts and stuff, Now, even that doesn't exist really in the same way,
Doesn't.
does it?
Because people just email them. They are very seldom do the print photographs out and send them to the pubs and clubs. They just probably, I think what they do it via email and send the file to the pub prints out itself, puts on the wall, that's gone. And some of going back then, we used to use like line negs. Have you ever come across a line neg? What you used to do is take the picture, and then leave a space at the bottom, which was plain white, then do letter set onto a piece of paper, photograph it on a line neg, which is basically a reversed image of the lettering, and you'd expose every picture in a box the correct way up once for the actual picture, and then again for the actual writing on the bottom with different exposures, double expose each one, and then develop it all in the dark.
Amazing.
Actually, that was a red light in there for the red light in there. But yeah, so make sure take everyone out, put it in the right order in your box, and get the line neg, do that same thing and everything. And then after that, we got the line negs, which you could put the line neg on top of a negative. So basically, the writing was always white, where you'd whited out the actual picture part of the actual negative. And they used to do hundreds of them, but they were always a problem because it's bad enough keeping two surfaces of negative clean from dust and everything, but then you've got four, so you've got the image, then the line neg on top of that to keep them clean. And sometimes we do like 100 pictures on the machines, and they have a bit of a hair on one of them. I think, oh my goodness, we put it on them again, and everything's like, so. But
So who were these people in these photographs that you were doing this for?
I did all the local pubs, all the local artists. There was a Huey Armstrong. There was Maurice Solway. There was crikey, can't think of them. There was I've always done Candida Barry stuff forever. Then there was the Dream Girls I did once upon a time. There was a lot of the Clive Hunter, the local bloke on Radio Humberside, Clivey, going back, he died about 30 years ago now. But just all these local people, I can't remember them all, that many used to come through.
Promo shots?
Yeah, just promo shots from them, yeah. They were all in the studio because photography wasn't as good then as it was now. So nowadays you get better shots, I think, on location. And it's easier to do than it was then ago. I mean, because the number of shots we've done on people just like, black or a white studio playing back, and they're boring, aren't they? They are boring. But when you get live stuff, with the cameras you get now, you can get good stuff live. I prefer the live stuff, so I still do bands. I still enjoy doing bands. Because you become, I don't know, you seem to get immersed in the situation. It's not a job, it's just an experience, and you particularly now with the digital way, you can look at it on the back of your screen. Oh, that's good, we'll do that again, don't we? And you can do things like a lot more experimental than you used to be able to. You can do things like drag the shutter and stuff like that, where you get like two images together and one layered, and I can remember the earliest thing we did, which I thought was really clever, was when I was at Jimmy's. There was a chap called Reg Clucas, and he invented a way of welding underwater, and he wanted some pictures doing to implicate that. We rigged it up to do it was actually out the water, but we did it in a real dark situation with all the stuff on, and it gave the impression that it was actually working, this welding tool, underwater. That was 1971 we did that. Yeah. That was good. I remember Reg. I was late teens, early 20s at the time. I remember Reg used to come in. A real bloke he was Reg. Real rough as a crow's arse he was. He had denim jacket and everything. He'd be about 40 or 50 then, would Reg. He used to come in. I thought, wow, he's a good man. I wouldn't mind, like a role model. I thought, I wouldn't mind being like him when I get older. And he used to come in with Reg, and sadly enough, about 15, 20 years ago, I went to a pub, the Ship Inn, in Dunswell, and I know Jonathan Palmer that got the Ship Inn, and he said, "You're looking at that bloke, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I know him from Subway." He said, "It's Reg." And Reg had a real bad stroke, and he was walking across the floor, and it wasn't the Reg I used to know, and it upset me, to be fair. And then about a few months later, Reg hung himself in his garage because he couldn't live with the fact he had a stroke. So, I'll probably that.
Yeah, sorry, that's sad.
So, yeah, well, yeah, it was your little icons, but you realise that they're your heroes are only human beings after a while, don't you? And that was one of the worst experiences of like realising that life is precious. With Reg, I'll never forget him. Reg had hair. Walking across that pub in the Ship in Dunswell, and I didn't recognise him. Yeah, and Jonathan said he felt like this. No, terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned Candy, the
Yeah.
Dream Girls.
Yeah, Twaddles.
Twaddles. Can you tell us some more about them?
Yeah, they were. They were just nice, funny people, and he didn't. To be fair.
Tell us who they are and what they are. Yeah, like what do they do as acts?
Well, Candy's always been a female impersonator. He's just done acts and things and impersonated people. Not always just sings a song. He doesn't sing anything. Everything he does is mimed. And once, one of my old friends called Jim Starkey, who's since passed away. Jim Starkey was an art dealer, but too much dabble in entertainment. He once offered to pay for Candy Device to have singing lessons, so he could sing the songs, but he wouldn't take it up. He just said, no, I'll just carry on with my miming and everything, which he still does. The Dream Girls, they were a bunch of three boys used to come in and have their pictures done in my studios probably 30 odd years ago now. I've never seen them since. I did a lot of that. I did the first gay wedding in 1992-93, and it was two chaps from Vauxhall Pub, and I've got a photograph somewhere, and I was going to bring them in so I can scan them. I've got a wedding group of brides, bridesmaids, best man, everything. Everyone's a bloke. We've got Twaddles had a lovely dress on in like tartan dress. They're all dressed in tartan. Bobby Mandrell or Candy, he was best man. I forget who got married, to be fair, but I did see him in Criterion a few weeks ago in there. So, and the funny story with Candy or Ray Millington or Bobby Mandrell was, I remember one day when we had Allenby Common shop, I was doing this sitting one night, and we had the shop in the front and the studios at the back, and funny enough, that day we'd lost some money in the shop, but it wasn't lost. It was, but because of insurance, I had to get some sort of like reference number or something from insurance to cover me. So Candy came first, or Ray came first. He was getting changed in the back of the shop where the studios were. It was like a big red door it was a massive heavy door. It was basically a fire door, and he was behind there getting changed. And this rather dishy female detective came in, was taking all the details, and I had forgotten that Ray was in the back there. And I was talking to this lady in the back there, and all of a sudden, so he kicked the door real wide, it smacked on the wall, and he came out with his stockings and suspenders on and said, "Tony, are you going to keep me waiting here all night or what?" And I thought, she was thinking he's a gay this or something. So, and to this day, if ever I walk in a pub where he's playing, he'll tell this story to embarrass me. So.
And Twaddles was an act?
Twaddles wasn't. He wasn't. Twaddles, the first time I saw Twaddles, he used to work in Miller's down the road there to barman, and then he was in Criterion. He'd fallen out with one of his boyfriends or something, and he was going home, and it got all these records from a jukebox with no centres in. He said, "I've spent ages last night trying to play that. It took me ages to try to get them in the middle of the thing without the centre in to try and play, because my boyfriend's left me and he was upset with there. I was talking to Twaddles in there, but then Twaddles, his real name's Gary, he used to always go into Vauxhall and they used to dress up, and at the time they had a swing on the ceiling, and Twaddles used to swing on this thing, and I remember once going in there and he got his stiletto heel stuck in the ceiling, he couldn't get down without taking his shoes off. He was stuck in the tiles on this swing. But Twaddles was they're all funny characters. And I remember going down the Grey once, in 71, 72 was it? No, but 81, 82. And he used to mince around in this white trouser suit. Come on boys, mind your back, they're coming past, this is Twaddles here. No, fuck off Twaddles. But you see, there was never any animosity. They were there, and that was it. Twaddles was Twaddles. Candy was Candy. They were just like, we'd pull the legs, but we'd never have been dictated to, oh, fuck off you puff.
But you were also, it was banter, was it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we didn't, we never, they were a bit different, that was all. That's, nothing, we never used to get picked on at all.
Why do you think?
Pardon?
Why do you think people were so tolerant?
Well, we just grew up with it. We grew up that way, and our parents was that way. It's the same with coloured people that were coming up. We knew that we didn't. They were just there forever. We didn't know them as being coloured. It was just them. That's what they were. We didn't even think of prejudice at that time. We didn't. There wasn't a prejudice. We didn't. We didn't even think of it. Never considered. They were just there. John was John.
Yeah.
That Ray was Ray. It was a different aspect. We never ever thought of it. We never considered it. I think that society has created a lot of prejudice which didn't exist before. They've highlighted things with young children that never existed. We always used to play together as kids. Never thought it was black, white, Chinese, what? Just like the names. That's all we knew as. But these days, I think, as I said, society has caused a lot of prejudice situations. Little kids don't think of a person differently. It's only when they get older and they're told these things that they think about this stuff. So.
And so, there's something I'd like you to talk more about, the idea of the acts in the pubs, the landladies. There's tolerance to you among your friends, but also on Hazel Road, this was also a place where these people performed. These acts performed.
Yeah.
And can you tell us some more about the landladies or the landlords of these pubs or the clubs? Or
there was Clarice. She had Rayners, then Vauxhall, and she had St George's. She was she ruled the roast. Did Clarice. Then there was Harry and Carol that had Rayners at the time. They were nice, and they actually I used to work in the pub on I did coaching horses for a while, and there was one, I forgot what they call it, Bay Horse on Wincolm Lee, and to be fair, you got welcomed in the pubs doing this, taking photographs, because it was something else that made it a bit novel for them. They liked it, and Tony, can I come with pictures for the wall? Give them a couple of pictures for the wall, and they welcomed you in there, and I got helped to do what I wanted to do. They thought it was, even nowadays, that it's, I go into Ryder sometimes, and if there's a function on there, I'll go and photograph them, bring them back here, take them back, give all the people. It costs me a couple of quid or so, but it helps Peter. The people, you want to get there? The times I go in there, I went in there about 6 months ago, and this bloke said to me, he said, oh, how much are you? I said, no, you can't give these photographs. I said, I can. I said, no, you can't. I said, I can. So he said, well, look, he said, I've never had this done before. I think it's fantastic, this. I'll give you something. So buy me a beer at the bar, then he's going to do something for me. And he said to me, do you know I run a motorbike thing in Spain? He said, well, we get people on holidays, and we take motorbike holidays, and we have a photographer there, takes people as they come past, And we do. He said, but they're not as good as yours. Would you prefer to come out to Spain and work for me in Spain? I said, Christ, I'm 72. I can't want to go out there and do that out there. He said, no, if you want a job, mate, you'll give me a ring and I'll come out there. So photography has always given you opportunities for friendships and business-wise as well. You know, you can, your camera gives you a good excuse to go and talk to somebody. You know, you're in a pub, do you want a picture taken? Okay, yeah, what's this for? What is it with this? Then they start, and the same thing happens here. People come in and I'll show them some old pictures. What's that? I've got some pictures on there that are interesting. Oh, that's good, isn't it? And you can always engage with people, and it's a light engagement. Even when people have passed away, if we do pictures for funerals and things, you can make a nice job of it, and the people are real appreciative. The number of people that come in and said, "You did this for my granddad's funeral, and I'm so pleased. You know, what you did for us was lovely." I said, "Well, that's what we do." And Graham, with his funeral order services, he does the same thing. People come in, and they're pleased. You can do it. If you come in here, we often get people coming in and start crying because they see pictures of people that's passed away. But of course, Gloria's quite good with them. She'll get them to sit down and have a cup of tea, and, you know, and look after them. And you know, they'll sit next to me there, and I said, "Look, don't worry about it. You know, sit there and, you know, I'm sorry for crying." I said, "Well, no, it's your dad. You're about to cry. You know." So you know, it is a fantastic tool to benefit your life in general. You can talk to people. You do the good times and the bad times. And this thing with Kate, this thing we've done, this 823, it's been marvellous because I've met people. When we've been in the studio upstairs, we're talking, it's unbelievable how what you see is not what you get, is it? It's that the people have opened. You see, when we've been talking to people and we've been photographing them, for some reason, it lifts the burden off the way they speak to you, doesn't it? They talk to you. I don't know why it is, but they unload themselves and tell you very personal things about themselves. Whether it's that room or not, I don't know. It's got vibes in that room because I've had some. It's got funny, spooky places. Whether it's something in there, I've always found that room. People have gone in there, but Steve, that's here, he said this room's funny. He said, "I think it's a lovely room, this one." I don't know why.
So do you think in that room, because I've always been curious, you know, the photographs of the Dream Girls or the photographs of Candy or Ray or whatever, they are very open photographs. People are truly being themselves, and I know they're performers in the world. They know how to act.
Yeah.
But in those photographs, it's not just an act, is it, in those moments? So what do you think is happening there's obviously clearly something about you as a kind, open, not tolerant, non-judgmental person, and you're a professional as well. They know that they're coming for a service and all of those things. So there's something about that. There's no judgment. But what do you think is happening in, you know, because it wouldn't, I guess in history, I guess the idea of, you know, you've revealed to me a lot of photographs that are very unusual photographs of kind of groups of the drag acts that you never see those photographs.
Well, I think again it goes back to the Butlins thing, where you get people to be your friends, and you don't. We never set any rules. You got to sit here. You got to sit there. Got to sit on the sofa. I had a couple come in last Sunday, and it was a coloured couple. Wanted some pictures doing of themselves. They'd been to church. I said, "We'll come on the way home," and I got them upstairs. I picked some slides out for them. Got them sat there, and the chap said, "Oh, I didn't think about it like this. This is miles better than I thought." I said, "Because it's so easy. You're not telling us to do this, telling us to do that. And I could take, and digital again has been a madness because I can take the pictures. I can show them what's that on the screen. Oh, can I look at it?" Well, then they become involved with the situation. Whereas most photographers, you're the subject and you stay the subject. I like to, in the shop, involve people in what goes on. If you involve people, what do you think about that one? He's a picture of his wife's there. Come have a look at this. That's it. That's on there. And they get real involved with it. and it don't become a business, it becomes more an experience. Like again, Gloria gets them and she'll get pictures to frame and she'll show them various alternatives, mounts and things like that, and frame it that way. I'll sometimes bring it there, ask them to bring and sit on my computer there, and I'll say, I think it'd better if you did this. And if you engage people, that's what people like. I think that's a trick of our success, to be fair, that we engage with people. Like with these things, with this HU3 thing we did, Kate, it's been fantastic where we talked to people up there, and people opened up and told us their whole lives. We didn't even ask them. They just was telling us these things about themselves, and we never said yes or no, just mentally. We just listened to them, and I put my bit in now and then, Kate put her bits down. Well, this happened to me, so and so, so you know, I did so, you know, and, it was good.
Yeah.
What are you thinking now?
Well, I'm just thinking about how the bravery it takes to come to have your photograph taken, and I think it's quite a brave thing to do, you know, to be, because you have to be vulnerable, don't you? You have to give yourself over in that space.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to put myself in people's shoes, I guess, to turn up here and to become, just to, I guess, to be vulnerable in this space has been a brave thing that people have done in the past. And I guess some of them of your friends, some of them.
There was, if you look at the pictures, there's no dividing line between the ones I knew and the ones I didn't know. Now, quite a lot of people like Dee Dee and Tony Cotson and George and Alec and Audrey Gill, I knew them, so they were already familiar with me, but the other ones didn't know us. But we were able to put them, mainly because I think we were quite casual about those situations. Come in, sit down there, we chat away and everything, and it's just there's no formality in it, was there?
No.
Which a lot of places are very formal, aren't they?
And I guess that sort of is born for me out of this area and this place. I always say that to other people, it has its own it runs on a whole set of rules that are very unique to this part of the world, to this street even. And, you know, the idea of being casual, of being tolerant, of anything goes, you know, all stories, everybody's lives are kind of included. And if I think about what you said about, you know, the acts that you've seen perform, the people that have performed, the fact that, you know, Clarice's story, her family story, you know, all of these.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because I think the myth that's made around this area is it was just blokes in fishing, and it was very kind of male and a bit.
I think it was, to be fair, once upon a time.
In the 80s and 90s, I guess. What does it?
Because it was the 3-day millionaires, they called, didn't they? Because they used to go away and used to get drunk on them when they could come on for the 3 days and go back for the 3 days. I think it was a very, very hard life for both the men and the women. Because the women used to be by themselves for a lot of time, didn't they? 3 weeks away, and sometimes they'd come home, didn't make a lot of money, did they? You know,
it's often described as a wild place. Do you feel like it's wild? Do you think it was wild?
No, but you bring someone from a more privileged place, say somebody from Harrogate came to spend a weekend with, Christ, like, what's happening there? You know, Christ, what are you doing there? You can't go down there. So of course you can. Even Steve that works with me, he walk down Copeland Street. He's scared to walk down Copeland Street. He'll come on that rolling way. I say, "You're okay down there, Steve? Don't worry." He says, "Why?" Well, they're half the buggers anyway. So you know, it's I don't know whether I'd be confident to walk. I don't walk down the streets on night time now, but I don't know it'd be like later on. I don't know. You see, another thing that I find difficult, or I don't understand, is there's lots of prostitutes down there, but the prostitutes never give me any. I don't think that's their job. That's what they do. They choose to do it. I don't think I'd like it if someone was forced to do it. That's not the same scale of fish, but they do it down there, and as long as they're not. I mean, the thing is when if on the early morning, they've sometimes got early morning, and you go for your bread cakes and everything. No, fancy business, love. What are you on the early morning shift love, today? What So, but there's no harm to anybody, I don't think. And I think it's about time in this country we made proper recognised areas for them, for their own protection as well. I mean, like this side of Hazel Road, there's no houses this side. What harm are they doing?
And were there always prostitutes on this
Yeah,
street?
yeah. The maid that used to be on in town was oh, crikey, what do I call it now? This near the Princess Quay. There was a street there, which is always the one. But they always used to be on the corners there, behind Elder Grey. But I can remember going to Elder Grey years ago, and the landlord there was an ex-captain of the Norland, and he'd been there, and then the lasses would come in and say, "How are you doing tonight, love?" Oh, he'd say, "Oh, Christ, I've just fallen over." Oh, come sit on there, and he'd put cream on the legs and everything before they go back out on the streets from. Look after him all that. He used to come in. Well, there was a couple of quid, could he? Oh, go on, sit down there then. They'd pay you back all the time. And they basically, because John was a big lad, ex-fisherman, ex-captain, he was a big lad. Any trouble, he'd come in, "John, someone's giving me bother." I'll go. Yeah. I can remember often seeing him where they'd fallen over. I'll go in, and he'd come in and he'd put bandages and stuff and throw on the leg. Yeah, it was John. He's dead now. It's John. He's a good friend of Frankie. Frankie used to look out. He used to look after. He was a steward on what was known as Frankie. He used to look after. He used to one of funny. Jeff Prince's sister was married to a chap called Lloyd. Now Lloyd was, I don't think he was the captain of the Northern, but he used to, Frankie loved Lloyd. Not a relationship, but he used to love Lloyd. And he'd always make sure he had his drinks and things, and his cabin was free. He used to call him Luscious Lloyd. Luscious Lloyd. I sometimes say, "I saw Luscious Lloyd." "Oh, did you? Give him my regards, won't you? Give him a regards, Luscious Lloyd."
So tell it, Frankie was. Frankie's
got his pub down the road there, and he's retired now, which was a mistake, I think, was Frankie retiring, because he's never been the same since. And he was on board the North. He went to the Falklands thing, where he did Frankie, and then apparently one day he told me that before they got to the Falkland Islands, they had a little bit of a tete-a-tete with the captain. He told them, "Look, we're going to this place now, you might have to do it. It might come to a situation where it's you or an Argentinian." And he pointed at Frankie and said to Frankie, "Could you kill an Argentinian then, Frank?" And he said, "Eventually." And then on the way down there, they had a practice of putting the lifeboats out, and they were doing. The captain was there training them all to put lifeboats out, and Frankie was on the winch and put his foot with his flip flops on the thing, and he had nails on his nails. And the captain said, "Francis, that's not what we expect in the Navy. Go and put your shoes on." Yeah, so Frankie was lovely. Frankie is funny.
So, yeah. And so Frankie was openly gay in the.
Oh, he's always been gay, as Frankie. Yeah.
In the Navy, yeah. And yeah. On the boats, yeah. Yeah. And then running which pub?
Yeah. Frankie's got Salt Tavern down there. And he told me a story about when he was younger. He used to watch TV, and he liked watching Al McCogan on the TV. And his mum thought it was lovely because I thought Frankie was going straight. And he said I used to watch him because I like the dresses. Mum used to think I was going straight, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's what he used to say, this Frankie." Lovely is Frankie. He's a really funny person, and very warm and genuine. I think gay people have such lots to put up with in their lives. They are a lot more caring, and they appreciate being normal. I think if people come in, they're going to Ryder Club, they're going to Vauxhall, they just don't look round. I remember talking about the gay. I remember Brian Hassan was a coloured bloke, one of the first coloured blokes who was going there, but he was just Brian. I never used to know him. Yeah, I say I can't think of why we're so anti. But to be fair, I don't think the average person is. The average person, I think it's politicians and things that make us that way. Because the average, you go walk down the street and people aren't that prejudiced. My family are. I don't know.
So can you explain the atmosphere in Riders or Rainers when it's in full, when there's maybe when Candy's playing or when there's another act on a Wednesday or a Sunday? Can you tell me about what it's like?
Well, Riders and Rainers are different kettle of fish. Now, Riders is a bit more like the old-fashioned working man's club. It's quite old-fashioned. It gets full. You have the artist on. There's 2 or 3 spots. Then you have play your cards right, and you have your bingo and everything on there. And that usually finishes off about 6 o'clock time with the karaoke machine out. The strippers have gone on a Sunday lunchtime now. That's that for years, have you? That was years and years ago. But they don't get that anymore. I don't think so anyway. Whereas Rainers is a drinking sort of atmosphere. I think Rainers is a better representation of what the pubs used to be on Hessle Road, and Riders more like the clubs used to be. Because once upon a time, when Riders was the West Hull Liberal Club, it took you had to put down on a waiting list to get into there, and you had to be interviewed by the committee there, see whether you could join there. It was quite a difficult place to get in there. You had waiting list for there, whereas Rainers has been Rainers. Because anything, Rainers is the Hessle Road pub, and I think it always will be.
And so, I mean, what's the atmosphere like when it's in full flight?
It's just wild, isn't it? It's just wild. People go all over the place, and you grab all the people. So, sorry, I haven't seen you for a while. Oh, hang on, what was that? Yeah, and they just grab all you and they sit down next to you and they push you out the way. But no one takes offence, do they? It's a pushy, puddly, very friendly place. When it's full, I think it was empty. It's a bit more. People look at you a bit more when you walk in. When it's a bit, but they don't know who you are, do they? I can remember a funny story about Rainers. It was a few years ago. I was in there, and there was the barmaid behind that used to make sandwiches and things, and I was stood in there one lunchtime it was, and this chap came in and asked for a sandwich. Could I have a sandwich? Anyway, the barmaid made him a sandwich and gave him a sandwich, and he said, "Have you got serviette, love?" And she said, "Fucking serviette? Where do you think the fuck you are? This is Rainers. Serviette, what's that?" And I was in hysterics. Sorry, love.
There's a straightforwardness.
Yeah.
To it.
No holds barred, Elvis, really. What you see is what you see is what you get really back in there. But like when they came in here, they don't. But see, you don't realise, do you? Then people probably are like that. There's a lot more depth to people that we don't understand or don't know. Because people don't go around telling all the problems, do they? They're doing here. They come in here. And Gloria was 2 chaps today. One had bad cancer or something. He was telling Gloria all the stories of how he's done that and how he's in remission and everything, and he's done this and everything. The other chap came in not long after that. Gloria talks to him all the time. It does become because Gloria said we should have it was like a refuge centre for people to come and have a chat. And I do believe, which if we had a coffee machine, if people would be there all day.
Yeah. No.
Just sit down and have cups of coffee and everything. And Graham comes in and talks about it because Graham had his accident with his leg, didn't he? He didn't come in, People do come in. Dougie comes in all the time. Billy comes in all the time. And Ray was in early on, wasn't he? He was here when Ray come in. Ray come in with his girlfriend all the time, yeah. He's a biker. He comes Friday's Ray Day.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is a bit of a hub for people. It's very similar to Donna's place, isn't it? People go in there and they don't, because that chap today, I think he only wanted something very small. And Gloria said, that's too cheap. No, I said, no, I've loved talking to you. And he'd give her a big tip for talking. He said, no, take that. She said, no, that's not what it is. I said, no, take it. She said, always take it. I'll be offended if you didn't take it. She says, well, fair enough then, you know. So, and it is. And I think if ever I retire, I think I'd miss that. I'd miss being part of this community, and it is a nice community to be part of. And I think myself quite lucky to be part of it. Where I live, there's no community. Where I live in South Cave, there's no community there. You know, and it's, you know, if I walk from here to Lidl, it'll take me probably 2 or 3 hours talking to people on the way there. How are you doing? How are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you going in? This, so. Yeah, it's good. I will miss it when I pop my clogs.
You're not planning on closing anytime soon?
I don't think so. I mean, age will get to you in the end, though, won't it? You can't give up. How long can my eyes last with all the computers all the time? You know, physically I feel all right, but you never know, do you?
No, you never know.
What is disappointing is my daughters are interested in carrying it on. It's difficult for them with the kids and everything and where they live and everything. It would be nice to, like Maltby's have done and like Donna's done, whereas their kids have taken over the business, and it's so Donna goes in there as and when now, doesn't she? And Maltby's pet shop, that's been, I can remember them 4 generations of them. The old man, Dad Peter passed away a couple of years ago, and now there's Paul and his kids and everything. But yeah, that's a nice situation to be in, because it doesn't die, does it?
No.
Next, I was going to say the other day, I was talking to 2 people. It was Eddie, the electrician, and we both said if it happened to us two, the business is gone, because the business is us. I had the same conversation a few weeks ago with Mark Hill, the hairdressing. You know Mark Hill, the hairdressing guy? He's quite a famous hairdressing guy, Mark. He does up the stars and things. He's always on BAFTAs and stuff. He's a great guy, is Mark. And I was in Boys. We was actually discussing underpants in Boys. Yeah, Mark Hill's a massive. He goes on BAFTAs and all that sort of stuff. Mark does like, yeah. And I said, you're going to have this trouble, Mark, I said, because your business is you. He said, no, he said, they'll come into my shop. He said, even if I don't do anything, if I go across and pick a woman's hair up, I've been to Mark Hill's today, and he said, and people come in, is Mark in today? Well, I'll come back tomorrow, and stuff like that. It is, without Mark, without this, it's not business, is it? So unless your family take it over, it will die when I die, or when I go.
What a legacy! I mean, I'm interested in the legacy in a way, is in the people that you've served and the photographs that people have on their walls, and you know the experiences that they've had with you and Gloria in the shop or upstairs having their photographs taken. And I guess, you know, the images that I'm hoping we can look at, those photographs will continue to be in archives and be important things of a time, and I guess you will carry on through your work.
The good thing about photography, as opposed to like with Donna's business and the Maltby's business, you won't have a bag of seed, will you? But you'll have like the photographs that are going to be memories back, you see. So they'll always be there. So even though when I'm passed away, that's going to be there. The photographs that we did still going to be there. That's one good thing. It's forever, isn't it? Which is one bad thing about now with the mobile phones and things, because if you don't get them printed or done, once you lose your phone, that's it. So I think as from 2020 onwards, we aren't going to have I can get pictures in here from granddads from ages ago. Oh, that's my granddad, so and so. And sometimes on the back I put who it is, which we can copy and scan, and they've got them forever. But once that goes, which I think it will go, because I mean my kids and kids there, I mean, they'll take photographs on the phone and they'll lose the phone. They don't seem to value the history of things. Oh, I've lost my phone, okay, all my kids was on there, oh, so what's brilliant, you know what I mean? People don't seem as, what would I say? Emotional about about things as we, and whether they are or not, I don't know. Perhaps I'm making a wrong decision there, or judgment. But the people years ago, like they're coming here with little precious photographs. I used to go around the gypsy camps years ago into the caravans and photograph the old photographs on the floor, because they didn't want them to leave their hands. They were so precious to them that they kept them in their hands. So I can't let this go. It's my granddad so and so, and she passed away so many years ago. Can't I just photograph on the phone while I'm on the floor? I've got one on there.
Amazing.
With the carpets in the caravans on there, with I photographed them for them on the floor, because then photographs were precious, weren't they? But no longer. So yeah, look at this. Yeah. So.
And there was a cost involved as well, wasn't there? A different kind of cost and an effort to have it done, I guess.
I used to go around the gypsy camps and photograph all the kids and all the things. I've got a fantastic picture on there where we had I'll show you before you go. Of probably 50 traveller people. We used to get a lorry, a horse wagon full of beer, and go to where McDonald's is now, when it was scrapland, and have parties and barbecues and things on there. I've got a lovely photograph of 50, 60 travellers sat down with all the dogs and things and all the caravans and things behind it, and it was a lovely picture. It was the best picture I've ever taken, to be fair.
So in a way it's an area that's always taken in all sorts of people, or all sorts of people have lived here.
Yeah.
Whether that's a Danish fisherman or a...
Yeah, it's got a Danish church, haven't we?
Yeah, but this area particularly, like the Icelandic people, or the... Now we've got the Marians of Somalia and Ruta of Lithuania and...
Yeah, I think it's been... Well, because I think people have always come through, haven't they? With it's the end of the line, isn't it, this? And they came through here to go to... The original Jewish came through here, went to America via Liverpool. They came here first, and they were in where the station is in town, and they went from there. So there's always been a mixture of people in this town, I think. That's probably what's made it what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting play. It's a dock, isn't it? The idea of a collection of...
Because it's the end of the line. Sometimes when I've had girlfriends come to see me from different parts of the world, they get off at Paragon Station and think, hang on, how's it stopped now? Because every other place has a line straight through, don't they? Whereas we don't. Lincoln does. Lincoln does. We go through Lincoln. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got some photographs that are your photographs, and I was hoping that you might be able to I'll just share a few and talk to me about those photographs.
Well, this photograph is, I don't know what to call it, Ray Millington, Bobby Mandrell, or Candy DeBarry. I had to change the name from Candy DeBarry because there was another drag act called Candy DeBarry, and he put DeBarry, he still objected, that's why I called himself Bobby Mandrell. So he's never been. And this was a photograph I did before the digital photography. What I did was we rigged up in the studio, Ray before his makeup and Ray with his wigs and makeup on. And it's a photograph of Ray normal Ray with his stuff on and wig on and everything in the mirror looking at himself there. And it's you can see where I've stuck two negatives together there, and it was his publicity photograph. But he preferred one of his head back to front. This photograph I did the same thing with superimposed him looking one way as Ray and him looking the other way as Candy, with a misting of the two. I've got that one somewhere, which that was there. That's what he shows. That was done in the black studio. That's Bobby in St George's, on St George's Road, which looks like he's in the front room, doesn't it?
Tell us what can you see in the photograph?
Well, there's TVs, there's the bar behind, there's pictures on the wall, and the gas fire in the corner. Because it was a converted house, wasn't it? Yeah, that was what it was, next to converted house. The pub bit was there, that was normal, then the next bit was a converted house. This was Clarice's place. Look at his little speakers in his chairs. Yeah, the carpet's funny, isn't it? Yeah. I was once in. I think it was in St George's when Ray was doing his act, and I forget what they called his partner at the time, because his partner was doing the sound, and he kept getting it mixed up, and of course Ray went to sing a song and everything said, for fuck's sake, on the microphone, for fuck's sake, get your act together. And he used to go down and he'd come out again and start doing it again. And for fuck's sake, what are you doing? What are you doing with that thing there? I'm trying to sing it. And then he's doing that for about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour. Well, that was to me funnier than the act, because I couldn't stop laughing. Me and Gloria was in there, and I was watching him do this, and they were saying, "Oh, I like it when he does this one." And I remember he kept coming out. Well, it happened a few times we did it. Was that? And another thing was with Ray, and he had a box of dog once. I remember he had a box of dog, and I had a box. He had a box of female dog, I had a box of male dog. And we mated the two together, and he had some puppies from my dog. And I forget what they called. I think it was Phil they called the lad he was with at the time on their Boothry estate they lived and everything, and they had some puppies and they sold the puppies on. And my first wife's parents were quite were religious. They were Seventh-day Adventists. And Peter, lovely bloke was Peter, our dad, wanted to see these puppies. Well, I actually took them down to Ray's house, and whether what they thought about gay people, I don't know. That's bloody cough. Anyway, we walked in, and Peter and Arlene, my wife's Seventh Adventist mother and father-in-law, Ray came in, and they said, "You won't fucking believe this. I come down this morning, there was fucking shit all over the bastard place." And I said to Phil, "Get that fucking cleaned up." And I thought, oh my goodness me. And I could see the faces. Thinking, what has my son-in-law brought me into here? So they went there, well, I can never forget that. Yeah, fucking shit all over the floor when I came down this morning. I said, fucking Phil, get this bastard cleaned up. So, that was in the same place.
St George's?
Yeah, that's where he did it. That's the same look. That's the same. Yeah, that's where he did his nun thing. And he used to put a. They still do it. I've seen him with a cushion up, so he does the pregnant nun. Yeah. So that was in St George's there with his nun outfit. I think I did him in there. This was the days before we had my back projection. This was the day when that police woman was there. That's when she came in with that one. Yeah.
So what is in the photograph? Tell us what's in the photo.
Lovely jewellery, a plain powder blue background, a massive jewellery. That's when he was. I think that was when he was at his peak now.
How many times do you think you photographed him?
Half a dozen. Yeah.
When was the
in
last
studios?
time? Yeah, in studios. Yeah.
I've done it loads of times where he's been on. Yeah. Oh, this is in here. Well, I'm still thing there where he was doing. I don't know what it was, Peter Pan. I think it was. When he was doing that. I don't know, it's funny.
What's the pose?
I don't know. He does that. What do I do next? What about this one? So he just goes and does it. I said, well, do that. And yeah, we just do it. I don't know what it was. I don't know why he did it. But he's got like Peter Pan stuff on, hasn't he, there?
And there's outfit changes, isn't there, in all of these?
Yeah, it changes all the time. Yeah. That's his Shirley Bassey one, isn't it, that one? Oh, yeah. This is from projection move. That's Times Square, New York, that is. On the bench, which is still up there. Yeah. I like that one. You see how relaxed he looks, doesn't he? He's always relaxed. Well, that's his Shirley Bassey one, isn't it? This is his Shirley Bassey look with the candles and everything, and the blue background. Yeah. No, it's funny. Got a good relationship, but that's him at his house. I went to his house and photographed him in his house once. I don't know why I did. He must have said, because he hates these.
Why does he hate them?
Because he likes himself as that, doesn't he? He doesn't like himself as that. Yeah, I think that's him as Candy, and that's him as Ray. And I think he that's his ego there, isn't it? And that isn't there. No, he's happy when he's doing his act, I think. Or he used to. I don't know what he still is now. I don't know. I don't know. This is the Dream Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Dream. I can't remember. I can remember these coming, but I can't remember what we did. They came down one evening, and it was late one evening, if I remember rightly. And this wanted some PR shots doing, and we did. I think I met them in. I met them via Ray. I'm sure I met because he used to say, "I'll go see Tony" and everything like that, and he used to get it sorted out. I can't remember the names, but it's funny how time passes, and you look at things, and you think how good things you did before. You took time to do things before, and like now with this we've been doing, it's coming back to these sort of like standards and things. And last again, I'm doing pictures that I feel proud to show people of. We had a period where they wanted things on ordinary backgrounds, and it was not me, but it was what the people wanted. Whereas now I'm going back to this sort of stuff. I did some on Sunday, like I said, on Sunday, and I was real chuffed for them. I thought, oh, they're nice pictures, and I can do them mainly because I like the results, and it's different. Monty Zucker, it was a famous photographer from America. I went to a few of his seminars years and years ago. His motto was the difference that makes the difference with his photography. It is the difference, isn't it? Yeah. Because I hate white studios. I've got rid of mine now. Yeah.
So do you think, tell me what do you remember anything about taking those photographs or the costumes?
I remember taking them. They used to get changed in the staff room because there's no room they could fit in my shoe all the gear. And they kept coming out. What are you doing next? What are you doing next? Go in there, go in there, go in there. And they were great. It was a lovely atmosphere. It was nice. It was a nice experience, to be fair. There was never anything strange about it, never anything. I was a photographer, I was male there, I don't know whether they were female, but we're just like nothing ever, we're just doing a job. We joined, this is what I think the success is. It's like an experience. We join together for a joint end result together, like you and I have done. And with everyone that comes in, right, we do this. See, this is before digital. We didn't know what was going to happen with these, did we? We just did them on film and everything. And it's worked.
Can you describe the costumes?
Yeah, they're just over the top, aren't they? But really glittery, like peacock clothes and everything. And then the way they start, it's a bit like Inch and Bracket, isn't it, to be fair?
Of the time, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's get up to them too, because we're funny. I think he's still around. Yeah, well, that's with a back projection there with scenes. I can't remember him.
And then just hang on. There's some more of those. Oh, these are
all the theatrical people that came through.
So would you have made these posters using these photographs?
Yeah. This was Silver Halo, I think. This is the one where you have the negative and you make a line negative and you put that over the top of it. Obviously the black, and you do hundreds of these.
But would you have done that with these photographs?
No, I didn't do that. I don't know what they did with theirs.
You would. So the Ray photographs, the Dream Girls photographs.
Ray, what Ray used to do, there used to be a company called Denman Repros. And what you could do, you could send your picture off to them, then they'd make your posters for you. And the bigger ones did that. They ordered thousands and thousands. We used to do hundreds. We couldn't compete with them in the thousands.
And so tell me about Denman Repros.
They were in Nottingham. And these artists used to send the pictures to them. Ray's got a lot of they had them there. And they used to produce pictures, not of this quality, but they were good enough to hand out in pubs and clubs and things, you see, because you're giving them away, aren't you? So, whereas these things were about £1 a piece at the time, not a long time ago, whereas they come down to pence. I've still got that. That microphone there.
So, Were people using the ones from Denman Repros? Were they using them to give out to audience or to
No, they used to give them to the
landlords or landladies?
Yeah, he's come up with a period here they put on the wall. The Ryder Club still do that. If you go in there, you'll see some on the walls in there that they've produced themselves. Yeah, and it's appearing here next Saturday and things like that. And we used to sometimes do them with a band across there, which the artist would write next so and so, so and so, appearing here. Yeah. That's Canary Wharf, that.
On the slides.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's the shop.
That's my shop in Anlaby.
And I guess this is interesting.
That's my wall with all the people on it that I've done work for. That's Ray there, look.
And can you explain what the wall is?
The wall is actually all the publicity photographs on there. It was all the people who came in for the pictures doing for their we used to do a package, promotional photographs, we used to do a sit-in, and what do we used to do? Artwork, 200 full colour little sticky photographs to put onto people's walls and things instead of all the paste, and with the name on all these land egg ideas. That was, and that was that little cartoon that Clibby did, and I photographed the cartoon and made a land egg out of it. You've got all these people here. Someone came in the other day, the shop, and he found himself on here. We used to business cards as well. I think that's Jeff, that's my dog. Lorena Flack, who's still around, she comes in now still.
What date do you think this photograph's from?
I would think 1984, 1985. Yeah. Because it was before we got the next. We had that shop originally there, look, just that bit there.
Okay.
Just that bit there, and then what we in when would it be? The girls were 5 or 6. So about 1994, 1995, we bought, that was a baker's shop. We bought that and knocked it through. So this bit here, you can't see it really, was the wall there, was the wall. Then we knocked the wall down.
So it was before you bought the second shop.
Yeah. So it'd be about 84, 85ish, I reckon. There's all one. That was just a better picture, though. You could see who it was, couldn't you?
So you were, I guess, you'd been here for so long, and you were out taking photographs. You had a history even before the shops of going in the bars and clubs and stuff, taking photographs. So people knew you and trusted you because you were turning up with photographs and you weren't judging or any of those things.
No.
So do you think you were the go-to place for people? Like, was there other places that people could go?
When I felt awful about what happened. Well, I left Jimmy and set up by myself in Anlaby, and I remember one day Jimmy rang me up and said, "Tony, could you help me out, could you?" He said, "Have you got any photographic paper?" I said, "Yeah." So what do you want? He said, 100 sheets. I said, "Jimmy, I don't have sheets, I have rolls of it." I felt awful saying that to him because I couldn't help him out, and I'd gone up. I said, "No, Jimmy, I don't have rolls. I have 100-metre rolls." "Oh, sorry." I said, "Well, I can't. You can't cut it out because you can't do it." And I felt awful doing that day. Another awful situation that was very similar was my chemistry teacher at school was called Mr. Hawkins, and his first name was Donald Hawkins. And I wanted to have it. I was having it in the paper, and my chemistry teacher applied for a job with me, and I was humbled really, and I felt, and I couldn't employ him, but I thought, oh, my poor chemistry teacher, now it's reversed, and I didn't like doing it, to be fair. And it was very similar to the Jimmy idea, whereas he wanted some paper, and I said, "No, I don't deal in sheets, Jimmy, I have rolls now." And then like Mr. Hawkins came down for a job from me, and it was horrible, to be fair. I didn't like it, so.
I can understand.
Yeah.
So people would know. I guess that's what I'm thinking is people would know that you were the place, like you just said, didn't you? That Ray introduced the Dream Girls to you. That's how they would know is through Ray.
Yeah, sort of the word of mouth, basically. Yeah, come to see you and everything like that.
And you were well known.
Yeah, I still love that picture of him, don't you?
What's in that picture?
That's a picture of Ray, is when the sitting had finished, and then he said, right, to me, it's his Marlene Dietrich pose, that is. He loves it, and that to me is the best picture I took of Ray. Then he did this stupid thing where he took his hat off and put his scarf around his head, took his wig off, and he's got his like bloody scarf around his head, and that was a joke one. But we always say that we've done the sitting, and I think the best pictures came on was muck around at the end with that Marlena one. I love that Marlena one with his not smiling, that thing, and he still says to this day that's his favourite picture, his Marlena one. So.
Do you feel proud of the work you've done over the years?
I do these ones. The ones of like the White Studio ones. I don't.
I guess I mean also the work of the shop. You know, all of the work.
Well, yeah, I do feel proud of it when people, you know, yeah, because I think we're very privileged. The fact that I don't consider this as being a job. I come here because I enjoy coming here. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. You know, this is one of the things what does worry me about. If I did nothing, what would I do? Because I do love coming here. I love the people coming in. I enjoy the things. Even when things go like my printer went wrong today. But it's just one of them things you get over. It's not much, you know. It's only a printer, isn't it? If I buy another one, buy another one. But I would, to do nothing. And to be fair, COVID gave me a glimpse of retirement. Because I couldn't come into here. I had to come in and look after the machines all the time and everything. Nobody could come through the door. And I had to stay at home watching antique programs and stuff like that, and car programs. And I think, God, I couldn't do this all the time. Do you know this? You know, and I do believe a lot of people I do know. I know of 2 people. I think because they've retired, it's not been good for them. I admit I don't think you should carry on at 40 hours a week for the rest of your life, but to keep some interest in what you do is very important for your mind and your physicality to keep them. I know a lady who retired 2 years ago, and she just had a stroke recently, and I think it's because she's doesn't do anything. You need to keep yourself active, as long as you can. Or when you can't, can you? You know. So, yeah, Kelly.
They're funny memories looking at them.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that wall became the thing. Funny enough, there's a funny story about this, because next to here, this machine, next to this wall, there was a big photographic processing machine, and all the photographs would come out a real long, because unlike now, you pre-cut the pictures before they're printed. It comes out and it cuts them there. Before, you used to put massive rolls of paper on this big machine. It'd come through in the shop, in there. All these rolls and rolls of pictures coming off. Then you used to go in the back. We used to cut them down. Yeah, And one day, the shop was absolutely packed. People waiting for the film. So we used to have this, we started off in bar 10, back at 4, that sort of stuff. And at 4 o'clock, people started coming in. And these pictures were coming off. And there was people in the shop with a real calm. Usually they start getting agitated, waiting for the pictures. And my phone ready, so. And they're real calm. And I thought, that's strange. They're all just watching all the pictures coming off. And there'd been a camera club with all naked people. Women coming across, there was rows and rows of naked women coming across the street. Oh, lots of us just sat there watching them come off. Yeah, that machine was just here. And now they're all coming there. So, yeah, they had good staff there. Good staff there was, nice staff. We still keep together now. Quite a joker, a lot of staff. We had a lot of funny experiences. And one funny experience is when John Rennick started working with me, John, and he was a YTS lad. We went with the chemist shop, and I was completely in the dark room, showing him how to process films, and I was between him and the door, completely dark. I showed him that you get the clip out, you get the clip there, you put the clip on that end of the film, you put the sticker on there so those films up, and then you get the rubbish and throw it in the bin. And as I threw it in the bin, I grabbed his bollocks by mistake, and I thought, poor old John, he must have thought he couldn't get out there. I was between him and the door, I still know John today. John now works for the police force, but he sometimes says that. That was shit scary, that room there with you. I couldn't get out because she was in there. I said, I didn't do it. I was putting that rubbish in the bin because the bin was in the corner there. So.
And then the last question, because I wanted to ask you, is something about how the customers and the street have changed. You've been here 40 years nearly.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot more foreign people coming in the shop, an awful lot more foreign people. Going back, when we first started here, I would say less than 2 or 3% was foreign people. And now I would say it's about 30 or 40% now they're coming here. Mainly because they want different things now. They want passports doing, and it varies. We have to do either Japanese passports. I've never done a Japanese one in my life. I did a passport photograph for a bloke who's going to Japan because he's just qualified as a samurai wrestler, sumo wrestler. Yeah, and he was in the shop, and I said, "You a sumo wrestler? You're fat enough." And I pointed to his dad. I said, "Your dad is." And that was for a Japanese birth certificate for Japanese, yeah. And we do a lot of work with people for documents, printing out, that sort of thing, which never used to before. Yeah, it's generally English people mainly come for pictures, whereas the other people come for documents and passports and things. It's a fairly split, really. So, no.
Yeah.
What was the question?
How was the street?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the old, you see, there was a Billy Glenton, the fishman. He used to be at the end of the street, opposite Maltby's, and Billy the Fish, they called him. And he was like this. His family did it. He always worked to Billy the Fish. Then he died about 4 or 5 years ago. Now that's died after that because nobody carried it on. It's Billy the Fish is no longer. Everyone used to go there, and he was a character. Oh, give me so good for that. Don't bother that, And what's more, you go to Billy and say, Billy, right, this is what you want. This is what you want. And so to be the same, there used to be a lovely butcher's, Ralph the Butcher. He was just before you get to Cratty on the same side. That was a Pearson's Butcher's it was, and he was that sort of he was part of his brother was gay. He used to have Vauxhall before Frankie got it, but yeah, well, they were part of the community, but they've all gone as these people are going. Nothing's replacing them that's long lasting. These people come and go, don't they now? More transient. Because I think the people here are more transient, aren't they? They aren't like they used to be. They move on, nothing works. Whereas when I was younger, things were there. Like landlords was there in the pub for yonks, weren't they? The bloke, a fruit and veg bloke was there for years. Nowadays, landlords, they change. After a couple of years, they move on to somewhere else. And when Harry and Carol was in Rainers, they were in there for years and years, They had their own talent fan in there as well, did Rainers, yeah. It was a good pub, The main room in there was that back room, which they don't use much now, do they? That was the main room, that was. So.
Who have you seen performing there? In Rainers, who have you seen?
Rainers?
Yeah.
Well, Candy was there. Noah was there with his Elvis Presley suit on that he got from Joe Longthorne. There was Kuchiko was in there. I've got more pictures on there. People used to have this talent thing in there all the time. But Harry put the money up, and it was quite a good thing. And then A1 Pianos and his partner
Michael.
Yeah, Michael and Rolly's mate was there. Laurie, that's it. Laurie's mate. They were resident in there. Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they were in there. They used to play Michael on the drums and Laurie on the organ, and it was quite funny really because I remember going there once when Joe Longthorne came and he got on stage and started doing an act for everybody in there. And and he said, I've got to go off now. I said, no, stay on. And then Mike and Laurie said, do you want us on? No, fuck off, we don't want you on. Stay on. And they never played it. I could see he got really pissed off because they didn't want them back on. Because obviously Joe was a big star, wasn't he, at the time? And he was, because he could play the piano, he could play the guitar. He was quite an all-rounder, was Joe. And yeah, then he was, oh no, what happened with you there?
Did you ever photograph Joe?
Yeah, loads of times.
In the pub?
Yeah, no, I got the first one down the wall. Look. I took that in 1969 when I was at Jimmy's. See on the wall there? Mm-hmm. That big picture, that big black picture there. That was always in his dad's wallet. Every time I was here, he'd go in Rainers and his dad was in there. He was a nice bloke, was his dad. He used to always have bloody string in his shoes, even though he had money. Don't spend that much money, you know. I remember when he took this photograph. He used to get it out of his pocket, that one. It was all creature. You took that of our Joe. And that was on Jimmy Marshall's. And I took that picture when he won his first talent trail final, when it was in East Park, outdoor East Park on evening. And I took them pictures and they did the roof for me. They did the roof for us. Me and Jimmy did the roof. Yeah, they did a bit of bartering. Yeah, I'll do your roof for you. Yeah. And then he was at New Theatre. And he got me then, did you? I was they said, oh, go and take some pictures now. I'll go take some pictures. And then I kept on stage. I was taking him across the piano like that. And he stopped singing. He said, who the fuck are you? I said, you told me to come down tonight. He said, no. No, I started touring. I'm only laughing. I thought, you bastard. I was just kind of, he stopped singing. Who the fuck's this coming on the stage? Yeah, that was funny, that was. Me and Gloria was there and she said, I remember you kind of crept up real discreetly on the camera. So I wanted to get a reflection of him in the piano top. Yeah. Who the fuck are you? What are you doing on there? Yeah, that was about 12 years ago, that was. Yeah, I miss them sort of times. It was good, funny. Because Joe was a gay boy, wasn't he? Joe was gay, but he was lovely, was Joe. Yeah.
And very accepted in the community.
Yeah, he was part of the community, wasn't he? He was more like part of the community. When he died, they brought his body over from Blackpool and took him down the road a few times, didn't they? Yeah. His family still lived down there. His sister died not long after. His other sister lives over there, and yeah, but Gloria, my wife, has got a big affinity with Joe because he's always had trouble with leukemia, did Joe? And Gloria's brother died of leukemia, and she's got a bit of an affinity with Joe. She did have, because of that experience they've both been through, you know. So she was probably closer to him than I was because of history. Yeah.
We done.
Thanks for you.
Thank you, Tony.
That's all right. I'll show you them pictures, by the way. I'll traveller pictures as well. Hold me a minute. Well, take me. I know exactly where they are. This is a beautiful place.